So thank you so much for your time. Let's start with particularly you clarifying the treatment with which DCS officials have been facing.
Thank you for having us. We must say that what's happening is really out of line. The situation is just getting unpalatable, especially in the Eastern Cape province, where our officials are subjected to inhumane treatment. When they visit to some shops, they get turned away, people pointing fingers at them as if we are the carriers or we are the agents who are spreading the virus. It's really disturbing, and more so to our officials who render an essential service. You know, we are all really trying hard during this trying time, and then to have people treating our officials in this manner can only really work against the gains that we've achieved as a country thus far. We therefore call upon people to say, stop what you're doing. It's not assisting. In actual fact, this is an abhorrent conduct of the worst form. We really have to work together if we are to win this battle. And business owners, people out there, let us all, take part, let us be responsible and hold each other's hand so that, we can really start to record more recoveries, prevent more people from contracting the virus, and start to see the real gains in terms of how, as a country, we're winning this battle.
So, Zangabako, have you conducted investigations as to why, community members are treating DCS officials this way? I mean, have you interacted with them, especially with the information that's already out there on COVID-19? Have you tried to ask them why they behave so?
Look, the Department of Health and many other institutions have done a magnificent job in terms of demystifying the confusion, anxiety, and fear amongst the people when we have a new virus, because people get scared. And what we've done as correctional services, we've been very transparent, providing daily updates in terms of where we are when it comes to COVID-19. And we don't know whether we are now suffering because of that transparency exercise to say, at this stage, we have 165 cases, and this is where these cases are, and these are the measures that we've put in place. This is how we go about containing any possible spread of the virus and treating those who have since tested positive. We've even recorded more than 60 recoveries. So we are saying this treatment, it is totally uncalled for, and people cannot hide behind saying we were not informed in terms of this virus. So it's something which is really disturbing, even more so even from business owners, because you then start to ask yourself what could be the motive behind it. But we are prepared to soldier on until people really start to understand that everyone has to play a role here.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to the constant conversation around fake news and disinformation around COVID-19. If there is stigma and there is some sort of harassment which as DCS officials are experiencing, as you mentioned, particularly in the Eastern Cape from shop owners or business owners, I mean, that could, of course, infiltrate some fear. So what are you doing to, I suppose, further not only protect DCS officials from this treatment, but also to ensure that, business owners as well as community members understand that this is, I suppose, a dangerous practice which could further disseminate disinformation?
This can only undermine social cohesion and encourage, social isolation of certain groups. Hence, we are saying it is dangerous. So what we've done is to say, let us ramp up public education on what the virus is, how to contract it, and how best you can protect yourselves. And also making available those PPEs, not just to our officials, inmates, but even when we see the conduct of people, because in the Eastern Cape, you still find people really just roaming around the street, holding hands, doing all sorts of things. And when you say to them, this is quite dangerous, it leaves you vulnerable, you've got to really start taking ownership. And then people just look at you as if, you are just mad, basically. Then you now find a situation where you're saying, okay, correctional services, you are recording positive cases, therefore you are a danger to society, then you must be ostracized. We are saying that can only undermine all the gains that we've achieved thus far. And people out there must really hold each other's hand to say, even if you do test positive, you must go into isolation until you recover and go back and then start educating people about this virus. And that's the only way we can really, make serious gains. Otherwise, we see it as a form of escapism, because people don't want to face reality. Therefore, they look forward to say, no, we can point a finger at this one and this one, so that we look like, we're far as possible from this virus. We are saying it's dangerous. Let us work together and then educate even those who don't seem to know much about the virus, so that everyone is then able to forge towards the right direction.
Right. And just lastly, as the Department of Correctional Services, of course, there have been reports of, a number of confirmed cases within your department at some centres, of course, this including prisoners who've also tested positive. What measures are you continuously taking to ensure that you practice caution?
Correctional centres are, by construction and location, isolated sites. So if you're able to put sufficient prevention measures, then you would have won the battle. But we do understand that as people contact the virus, in the communities will also be affected. So we are doing public education. We are making available PPEs to our staff, to inmates, but we're also monitoring the movement of our officials, because as people attend to funerals, they then become of high risk. So in our screening process, we say, if you've attended any form of gathering, please do declare that, so that we can quarantine you for a period of 14 days whilst we monitor if you are developing any symptoms. But more education, even to people who reside within our premises, is what will help us here. But we have even identified sites where we're able to quarantine, isolate. But this is not only available to inmates, but even to our officials, because we do understand that some of them cannot isolate properly at home. And then in the extreme cases, we then refer some of them to the Department of Health. But we are doing anything possible as a department to ensure that prevention measures are in place. We disinfect our centers, and that the screening is really, really rigorous, so that we do not leave any room possible for any possible transmission of the virus.
All right, thank you so much for availing yourself of this conversation. Singabao Khumalo, the spokesperson for the Department of Correctional Services.